This video will demonstrate a software setup for a volume levelizer and EQ using VoiceMeeter with Reaper. And I'll go over the details of the setup here, but let's demonstrate what we're trying to accomplish. The basic theory is you want to be able to understand anybody talking, whether it's strictly like news or in a movie where you've got a lot of background audio, a lot of music, or the volume is going up and down. And instead of turning the volume up, turn the volume down because it's too loud. Or it's to a commercial and the volume's way too loud. This is the levelizer part. The EQ is more about understanding what's being said, taking out some of the frequencies that get in the way of that, and increasing just slightly some other ones to help increase the ability to understand the different speaking voices and languages you hear, either on desktop audio or on, like I said, cable TV. So in line in, I have a cable TV from Fox News.
Of medical service.
And on desktop audio, I'm hooked up to YouTube with a sermon lecture.
So you've had a temporarily, unbelievably, a charmed life.
And we'll go over both of those and the EQ of them. Let's go over and I'll bring in some of these plugins and bring them in and out. So this is the line input for the cable TV. And let me describe the plugins. This is a compressor limiter that just sets the bass at a basic threshold of -20 all across the board. So no one single band of frequencies punches in too loud to the automatic gain control, which is loud max. So we have loud max at -30, and the maximum output of loud max is -15. So no matter what's coming in, no matter whether it has to be at least -30, we'll have a maximum output at -15. Then that prepares the audio for the equalizer, the first stage equalizer. And we have one particular setting here at 400 where we attenuate it. Then we take the shelf filters here at 1 and 6, and that determines how much bass, how much treble you want. And then to fine-tune that even more, we have Reaper's own plugin, and all these are free plugins that will be in the show notes. So Reaper's own plugin, the 7-band graphic EQ, we fine-tune it some more so that it sounds better. And this, you just have to get something going first and then adjust these controls. Then after that, we go to loud max again, and this is set a little more severe, so we get trying to get the maximum punch in audio. So whether I'm sitting a foot away or across the hallway here doing dishes or opening up the fridge, I can still hear clearly everything that's being said, whether it be in a movie or on a talk news show, something like that. The saturation is just an additional control to help bring out certain frequencies of voice so you can understand them better. And the de-esser is just to take the bleeding edge or the razor blade cutting edge off those really super sharp S sounds, the sibilants. So let's bring this in and out here. I'm going to start with the equalizer, and we'll bring in Fox News again.
We, at the White House, when we were coming in as an administration, we did, I think we briefed during the transition period.
So you can see that there was a little bit of what I call audio mud in there that this takes out. And then we'll go to the 7-band now.
In some of these things. It doesn't mean that we anticipate them. It doesn't mean that we want them. It means
just a little bit of like subwoofer kind of bass sound that got rid of. And then again with loud max, it's more about replacing the volume. So that's always about the same, no matter whether it's somebody softly speaking or somebody screaming and shouting.
Trump will be there on Saturday. Can you confirm that? And is this about healthcare? As you just said, he was going to make the rounds.
Yeah, I've seen that report. We have nothing to announce with respect to the president's schedule at this time.
And then the saturation for the same thing. This is very subtle, but you might be able to hear it depending on how well this video encodes.
Yeah. We will have an update on the president's schedule, but later this week. But I do anticipate the president to be very active
and the de-esser
for the repeal and replace effort. And so this is what you should expect now, Maura.
The CBO score is supposed to come out next week.
Okay, so that's the cable TV line input to the sound card. And now let's go to the desktop audio and do the same thing.
Two men looked out through prison bars. One saw mud, the other stars. What's the difference? Circumstances identical. Same bars, same prison. What's the difference? In the men. Is that common sense? Well, yes, I guess it's common sense. And yet we are like a tree that's not planted by the stream. A tree that's completely dependent on what comes down from outside, not what I draw up from the inside. Put it another way, the Bible consistently tells us that that a Christian, a godly person, a Christian, is not just a religious person, not just a nice person, not simply somebody who is doing good things. A Christian is someone who has been planted and rooted into something beside him or herself.
Okay, so that's the basic setup, if you can call it basic. On the microphone, we have a similar setup for my voice. We have a gate. That gets rid of the background hiss. A little bit of a automatic gain so that I get a right about -5 output. Just a little bit of tuning on my voice. This is what it sounds like without it, and now we have it back in. And another de-esser just so it takes that out just a little bit. Okay. So in order to get these VST plugins in the same channel of VoiceMeeter, VoiceMeeter has a very cool option in its system settings, and it's right here, the patch insert. So you just activate what channel you want. So I have my microphone at 2, I have the line input in 3, and I'm using, for desktop audio, I'm using the VoiceMeeter aux, which is this one right here, 5, left and right. So once you've activated those, if you bring up a program with ASIO support and choose, you may lose my voice. So I'll go ahead and do this and I'll show you and then I'll bring it back. Okay, so I should be back. So it's that insert ASIO. So when that activates, that automatically routes the audio from the input of this channel over to Reaper. The output of Reaper goes back to the same channel, only the same channel, and then it goes through the system on VoiceMeeter. But this is very effective. A very cool feature that lets you use many different types of plugins for many different purposes for audio. So I have 3 channels. You have to monitor the input, right-click, monitor the input, and then just select which channel you're trying to control. So this is 3 left and 3 right. 5 left, 5 right, and you get the idea. So once they come in here, then you just hit FX and then hit Add, and you can search for the type of plugins you'd like to try. And all of these were in Reaper except the M equalizers. Those are Melda plugins. And the LoudMax is another external plugin. You just tell Reaper where they're at, have it rescan, and you're good to go. So the basic idea again is it comes out of the channel through that ASIO virtual insert driver, goes over to this Reaper track through the input here, comes out Reaper through the route button and this hardware. You have to add a new hardware output and then add the same channel. So it's just like you stuck Reaper in between here. And then you can add these plugins and give it a try. Now another interesting VoiceMeeter feature is it has its own EQ. So I'll turn that off just a little bit, turn it back on with my voice. We'll do the same thing with...
Having trouble getting care. Alexis.
Oh, wait.
Sorry.
Yep, my follow-up question is a follow-up question.
And I just have it set very subtle.
Type person all the time. No. We're talking about a joy that is permanent and is overwhelming and is overlapping and actually is stimulated by tragic circumstances. Do you hear? That's how you know whether you've got the circumstantial kind of happiness which of course only rains down from above, and sometimes it's just not there. Or whether you've got the fundamental happiness which is actually stimulated by it. Those of you who are in this, have been in this boat, you know it. Things go wrong. And you realize, hey, I believe these things, but do I really understand these things? And you go to him and you put your roots down, and suddenly you begin to sense not the lack of pain, not the lack of grief, but an overwhelming glory and joy that comes up. His hand upholds me. His right hand upholds me. There's a place in one piece of literature where a character is described like this. In his face he saw at first only care and sorrow, though as he looked he perceived that under all was a great joy, a fountain of mirth enough to set a kingdom laughing were it to gush forth. There it is. There it is.
Okay, so that's just the basic outline here. I think VoiceMeeter is a tremendous application. So it's breakthrough technology. And again, these will be in the show notes. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.